Manifest America 3019. Sinister rebels are attempting to divide our great nation. But the Manifest News Network is here to keep us in line. And now 2 former rebels have joined our team. I repented. I conformed. I will guide you to manifest glory, and you will follow.
In this world, you are born alone. You live alone and you'll die alone. No one will ever help you and you'll never receive support from anyone ever at all. That's what it means to be a truly independent American. And that's what we're here to talk about on Let Freedom Screech, which is proudly sponsored and supported by UX813121's powder, the only pain reliever in the game. I'm, of course, your intrepid host, Jack, accompanied by my fantastic and just so good to be here business expert, UX813121. UX, how you doing today?
Please, Jack, UX is for my friends. Call me Mr. 813121.
Of course, Mr. 813121. And, folks, there's a lot of turmoil out there in the world. There's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of guffawing, as it were. People don't really know what's going on in the world, and that's more as a result of your own ignorance. That's not really a result of the government not being clear on things. And nowhere is this confusion more evident than in the wild west and the crazy world of politics, which I've been told is not a great thing. Or is it? We're going to find out. Isn't that right, Mr. 813121?
That's right, Jack. One thing I've learned about politics is it is openly transparent. You just have to go looking for it. If you're not paying attention, if you're not digging through the files and listening every day, spending hours and hours a day hearing what your politicians are saying, finding the subtext of their monologues to cameras, to recorders, then you're not doing your job as an American.
That's fair. Everyone, step up your game. And to help you step up your game, we got a murderer's row of panelists today. We're going to talk about the real issues out there. I would like to introduce our guests for this segment, Gary Danielson, and of course, Casey Carlson. How are y'all doing?
I'm so happy to be here.
It's really excited.
Fantastic. Why don't you go ahead and let the audience at home, those stupid, ignorant, uneducated masses, know what you do out there.
Oh, well, I'm Gary Danielson. Some of you have probably seen me on our ads. I'm the president and CEO of Vortex Dark Money Credit Union. It's the family-friendly credit union where your money goes to the politicians you're trying to buy. It isn't eaten up by a lot of fees.
Oh, well, that's good. All that middle management, I'm sure, obviously gets in the way of true progress. And Casey, your radiance already coming out across the room. What you doing here?
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you again for having me. As some of the viewers at home may know, I am the female mouthpiece for Mr. Kevin Kirkson, and I'm so happy to be here on his behalf and just clear up a few things that there may be some confusion on.
Yeah, exactly. And confusion is something we absolutely do not want in this world of ours. So what was the name of that politician again? I mean, absolutely, we all know the name of that politician.
It's Kevin Kirkson.
Kevin Kirkson sounds like a heck of a fella, but you said there's some confusion out there. What are some of these nasty rumors that have been going around?
Well, they are rumors.
Absolutely.
Despite the fact that there is digital evidence of some of the things he's done with certain people and women, and I don't think we need to talk about what happened. I think we need to talk about how these digital videos came to be.
Certainly, we all know how easy it is to doctor digital anything.
Exactly.
It's just ones and zeros.
The real question is, can you trust this imagery? I don't think so.
That's a good point. How can we trust the things that are displayed in front of us? As you said, Gary, it's all ones and zeros, and it's very impersonal, which you would know from the flip side of that, being a very personable face to
yes.
dark money.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of people that don't know where to begin when it comes to buying politicians and subverting our culture. And I just bring them in. I just show them. It's so easy. Well, as our saying goes, throw your money into the vortex. See what comes back.
I think we all know the jingle by now. It's a real earworm. It gets in there. Now, UX, Mr. 813121, was actually telling me a little bit about some of his own dealings with the Vortex. And I think the viewers at home would love to hear an endorsement from a respected individual.
Absolutely. Yes, the Vortex has really cleared a lot of things up for me. I was one of those people. Very confused. Now, the only way to get anything done in this country is to purchase a politician. If you give them the money to get to push your agenda, you can make things finally happen. Writing them, trying to meet them at town halls, that's a waste of everyone's time. Put the American dollar to it, though, and that's when something gets done.
Oh, yeah. That's the comment card that counts.
Indeed.
Can I just chime in here? I just want to say, as a lady, it feels so good to know that men are dealing with the financial side. I don't know what that's about, and I just feel safe
We're
with you
glad
guys
to do
taking
it.
charge.
And that's why we have something like the Vortex. The Vortex cuts through all of the hassle. They are that middleman to make sure that your money goes toward some of the things that you want to happen.
And guys, can I credit you for having a female guest talking about politics? I think the three men in this room really, we hit it out of the park this time.
Way to go, guys. I'm thrilled. Over the moon.
You're welcome.
We're trying. Yeah, actually, speaking about over the moon, some things that I do know about, Kurtzman has had some stances in the past regarding some warmth towards the moon. Now, as we all remember, there is, of course, the threat of migrants coming from the moon, trying to get those jobs.
Mars.
Of course.
Mars.
Oh, Mars, absolutely. But they're going to stop off at the moon. That's the thing. And here's a chance to clear the air. How does your candidate feel about the moon?
I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, my candidate is not for the moon, and he's certainly not for migrants.
Absolutely. See, that's what we like to clear the air on. Now we know if you want to vote against the moon and against migrants, which is the right vote, your boy's Kurtzman. Now we know.
So true.
Now
It's
we
so
know.
true.
So, Gary, if we wanted to, let's say, blow up the moon, it's a staging ground, right? A potential base
Yes.
for
it can be
alien
used
invasion.
against us, our own moon. That's a very good point.
So what would the process be like if I wanted to influence a politician to get rid of it?
Well, we have packages. You can just buy a package rather than paying for each politician individually. You can just pool your money and we'll get it to the right people who are interested and following a blowing up the moon agenda.
Are you suggesting for poorer Americans they can sort of co-opt their money into a certain idea?
We are built to take money from poor Americans. It's our business model, and we'll make sure that their money goes to blowing up the things they really care about.
That is that's brave right there. I know that, these old-time values of looking out for the little guy and making sure that their voice is heard, but by gum, with their dollar, you are giving their voice life. And, pat on the back there, Gary.
I don't call myself a hero, but I'm happy to let other people. Thank you.
And speaking of heroes, and really just heroism can be a hard thing to define, but I define it as someone who is willing to stand up and stand in front of the people and make hard choices and say hard truths. And Casey, I really have to give respect to your candidate you're representing, Kevin Kurtzman, for having the bravery to state that from now on, any interaction he has with women, any attacks he's going to be, will be publicly available. Now, what led to such a heroic decision?
Thank you for asking, Jack. Really, what Kevin's trying to do is complete transparency with the public. If he's going to assault a woman, you're already going to know about it. There's no hiding. He's completely out there for the world to see. And isn't that what you want in your candidate?
Oh, absolutely. I think precedent has been set many years ago for open honesty and openness, sort of protecting you from any sort of backlash.
Absolutely. As a woman, this is what I want and really expect out of real true men.
I gotta ask, how did you end up working for Kevin Kurtzman?
Well, it was a fun story. He grabbed me in a bar and tossed me in the back of his car. Fast forward 2 weeks, we were having a real conversation, and he decided that he would give me a job. And I was like, what? A man giving me a job? It was a real whirlwind.
What a candidate. What a candid fella.
Gary, now if we wanted to, I don't know, sort of start a grassroots dark money movement for said candidate, how would the ignorant American public go about doing that?
Well, they would just come to me. They would just come to me with their money in their tiny little fist and hand it to me, and I will make sure it gets. Just tell me what you hate, tell me what you love, and I'll see that the money goes to the right people.
Now, I'm curious. This is wildly hypothetical, but let's say that perhaps one such American says, you know what, I would prefer this candidate not assault women, and put a certain amount of money. Let's say, I don't know, what's a small dollar amount? $300,000. Toward
That sounds reasonable.
yeah, and then
And not assault women is what you're saying. Not assault.
not right. Hypothetical and sort of crazy.
Okay.
Now, what if a slightly, let's say, more wealthy American comes along and says, "Well, I want him to assault women. That's a God-given American right. I'll put $1 million to it." Then, how do you work through that contradiction, giving in the dark money world?
We don't see a contradiction. We just see money, and we'll take both. And, they don't have to be contradicting ideas necessarily, although they seem to be on the surface. But you can get great money-making legislation on both sides of an issue simultaneously. It's possible. And I admire a maverick who doesn't want to assault women. If that's your stand, fine. I would not vote for that person.
It is a narrow path that is walked. I mean, it's someone that would have the wherewithal to do that might be a little bit crazy. But I think that's a good point. We always appreciate you playing devil's advocate, just throwing out these 300,000 to not assault. We have fun here. But more to the point, I want to just take a minute and talk to the American people. Meager, poor American people. These huddled masses. With what money you have, you could spend it on food, sure, but what's food gonna do but last you for a day? Or you can invest in an idea and a candidate who represents those ideas. So I, myself, would encourage anyone to grab any belongings they have. It could be 300,000. It could be 200,000. It could be something less than that. I don't know what that number would be. And you go find Gary Danielson from the Vortex, Dark Money Lending. And you tell them what makes you afraid. What are you afraid of waking up in the morning? Are you afraid that a man is not allowed to assault women? Are you afraid that migrants will come from Mars, stop at the moon, and take over our country? You tell Gary that, and he's going to set you right.
That'll feed you a lot better than food, let me tell you.
Thank you, Jack. Well said. Well said. Really telling the people the truth. I know that UX Industries is absolutely behind Kevin Kurtzman.
And you guys are close friends. I know that. A very close relationship.
Indeed. And in honesty and in transparency, and so I can't be brought to charges for that. That's because I pay him a lot of money. I pay him absolutely incredible amounts of money to push through legislation that I need pushed through, so that I make even more money.
That was so brave of you to say. Thank you. Thank you.
It's really our duty as Americans to be honest and open with the public.
And unfortunately, in terms of being honest and open, we are going to have to cut to a commercial break. We got to pay those gimmicks they keep sending in the mail called bills. But we'll be right back on Letting Freedom Screech. I would have, of course, like to thank our guests for this panel. Gary Danielson, anything you'd like to say to the American people?
Just throw your money into the Vortex. We'll take care of it.
And Casey Carlson, always a delight. Any last words?
I hope everyone votes on Election Day. Ladies, be sure to check with your husband, and you can vote as well.
And we'll see you in 2 and 2.
Motherhood. Is there anything more natural, more pure in this world? It's the only important time in a woman's life. As an expecting mother, we know you've got a long list of things to prepare. That's why we at Johnson & Johnson want to remind you of the most important thing on your to-do list.
Registering your unborn child in accordance with the Heartbeat GI Bill. As we all know, the womb is nature's boot camp. They go in a fertilized egg, then 9 months later, they come out a man. That's baby strong. That's America strong. That's Army strong. And we at Johnson & Johnson would like to reward your soldier with a free pair of combat booties.
The GI Heartbeat Bill. Duty begins at conception.
And we are back from our commercial break. You are watching Let Freedom Screech, proudly supported and sponsored by Juicex 813121, the only energy drink that gives you that good, satisfying sploosh in your throat. Juicex 813121, the drink you need. Sorry for that. You know, we talked about the politics of the day, but there's a different sort that involves legislation. Law, rules, things like that, which can be good and they can be bad. We're going to find out what's going on in the government today, things that could be affecting your day-to-day life. Now, I don't have as much of a vested interest in these because, again, these written proposals have a lot of words in them, and I don't have the time for those. But UX813121, what's going on?
Yes, Jack, thank you. We actually have a couple of guests here today. There's a legislation, Bill HR 813121, in fact, that we are working hard to push through. And we have Jessica Thomas today, a well-known lobbyist, who can tell us a little bit about what we're trying to do.
Hi, everyone. I'm here with a well-established organization, Children's Equality Now. I think that's something we can all get behind.
Absolutely.
Equality for children.
Oh, yeah.
And these children want to be able to work, just like every American at home listening right now.
It's an American right to work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And you don't even have to take our word for it. We also have our special guest here, Dilly. Now, Dilly, would you like a phone book or something? I know that if you want to get up on the table, that's
I want to
fine.
stretch up as high as I can and not depend on phone books or handouts from society.
Good
That's
for
the
you.
spirit, Dilly.
I'm so glad you had me here. I'm sorry for my ragged and filthy appearance, but I just got off my shift at the gun mines.
And how's that going? How long you been in those mines, Dilly?
It's been the 3 best years of my life. I'm loving it every day. I go down and I dig up some guns, and I bring them up to the man, and then they search my body cavities to make sure I haven't hidden any guns, and then I go home, and it's a good day.
That's excellent. And now, Dilly, how old are you?
I am 7 now.
7 years old.
I broke the law because, of course, the law says, the unfair law says you can't work until you're 6. But I was a great gun miner.
Oh, what age did you start, Dilly?
Well, at 4, and I was so small I could get the tiny. What are those Derringer guns? They were lost in little crevices, and I got them. And those guns would be lying in fallow, not shooting anybody if I hadn't gone in and got them.
Doing God's work.
Exactly. I mean, if you had started when they're proposing that the age is now, you would have been starting in your twilight years. You wouldn't have been able to grab any of those pistols.
I would be a lowly first tier miner instead of a minor 3rd class, which is what I am now.
Truly, potentially tragic, which is the type of tragedy that HR 813121 is trying to address. Now, Jessica, you know a little bit more about this than we do. What are some of those provisions? I know that it's mainly lowering the age, but
Yes, it is lowering the age, and of course, this law would only apply to those below the poverty line. My children would never be in this situation.
Oh, yeah.
But if they were, it would even apply to them. So I think it's so important that we give these children who need it the right to take back their lives.
you're a nice lady. You think your kids let them try it.
Oh,
Take
no,
them to the gun mines.
all right. No,
I
that's
could use
not
a friend.
for my kids. But for these sad, dirty children like Dilly, these smelly, sad children, they deserve this.
And that's the opposite, really, because the kids who are born below the poverty line, they get those friendships, and they forge those bonds that are going to last them 9-10 years, probably closer to 7 or 8, given how the lungs work for those kids. And the rich ones, they have that money to keep them company. So it's an even exchange, I would say.
I wouldn't trade this life for anything. And from the age of 4 until whenever I'm crushed inevitably in a gun cave-in, I will live fully.
And Dilly, you deserve that. You deserve to be working right now.
Thank you for saying that.
Now, UX, for those who somehow have been living under a rock or in a gun mine and don't have access to television, UX 813121, of course, is the CEO of Kids Against Nature. And I know that this particular issue hits you close to home.
Absolutely. I have been working with children since the beginning of UX Industries, and this is something very close to my heart. Watching these kids, many of them wish their brothers or sisters could join them in attacking and killing nature, and yet they can't because they're too young. So yes, I've been working closely with legislators, paying them to really push this bill in particular. Now, I tried very hard to fight for fetal enlisting, but that's the thing about the beautiful thing about democracy is compromise. And unfortunately, I couldn't quite get that, but I think lowering the age to 4 has been a great help. Dilly here is here to represent that. On the other end of HR 813121, there is a bit more to that bill that we've attached, and it's that people below the poverty line, which we all know is $800?
Yes, something around there. I'm not sure in the exact.
Basically a fraction.
80,000 something. Yeah, it's a very small. I'm sorry. It's very hard for me to think in numbers that small. It's something like 80,000 or anyway.
Yeah, you're more of a big picture thinker.
Indeed. Now, if you're below that line with this passing of this bill, you will never be able to climb out of poverty. And this is fantastic news for the poor of America.
Oh, yeah. It certainly sounds very appealing. I mean, I know that I grew up on the mean streets, as we all know, and that upbringing of being poor, and there was the chance of upward mobility, and I guess growing up like that. And knowing that you can never get out, that gives you some peace of mind.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I think so too, because the poor are building these communities together. They're together all the time. Why would you want to leave that community that you've been a part of for so long?
Dilly, I mean, you're below the poverty line. Now, would you want the burden of money and decision making and influencing?
No. Poverty has always worked for me. I like it. Shanty towns are my kind of place.
Exactly. Like what you are allowed to live an innocent and carefree life in those gun mines simply because you're under the poverty level. Do you know how many grown-up decisions that I have to make because I make billions of dollars, Dilly? It's horrible. It takes all of my time. I don't have time to what is it that poor people do?
Chase food down.
I don't have time for that. It's delivered directly to me.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no thrill in the chase. There's no hunt. I don't get to do that anymore.
Yeah, Dilly, I know where you're coming from. I grew up, I would I'd find whatever kind of odd jobs I could growing up, and coming home, and my parents would they would tell me that life can get better and things can change, and maybe you can find your own way in life, and Because it's a pitiful dream to have that, and if you just get it out of your mind, life's gonna be better for you, Dilly.
Your dreams are dead, I can tell. Do you want a hug?
What? No, I don't need any of that. What I need is this freedom of discussion that we are having, and I'm so glad that that's happening, and I'm a little parched, and I could really use a little bit more of this Juice X813121.
Could I get some of that?
Oh, yeah, sure thing, sport. Just dig in. All those 38 different flavors. They're working on the rest of them to get it up to 813121 flavors.
Thank you, Jack. Now, Jessica, in support of HR 813121, what can the American poor, the American masses, the American ignorant do to help make sure that the burden of decisions are removed from them? How can they help this bill pass?
That's a great question. Well, two things. First and foremost, I think put your money where your mouth is. I think the poor need to scrimp together everything they have and really donate it to causes like mine. Again, that's Children's Equality Now. If you donate to my organization, we're going to help push this bill through. Now, I do want to say, you spoke to the fetuses. This bill is not everything that we thought it could be. And that's why Children's Equality Now is already working on more legislation to get that age lowered again and again. We're going to keep fighting this fight so the poor out there make your voices heard, and more importantly, send us money.
That's right, folks. If there's anything that old Jack has stood for, it's fighting the good fight. And if this is a good fight, America, and absolutely, you should get your meager savings together and give them so that your children can go ahead and get in those mines. Isn't that right, UX? 813121.
That's right. I'm giving, so you can too.
Anyway, we're running out of time, and I've just got so much of that Juice X813121 through me. I got all that pep and that get up and go, so we probably need to head out of here. I'd like to thank our guest, Jessica Thomas, with Children's Equality Now. Any last words?
It's all about the children. That's all it's about.
It is all about the children, and of course, our children in the studio right now, Dilly. Anything you want to say to the folks at home?
Thank you for giving me this platform. Excuse me, I have gone long.
And with that, I'd like to thank our business expert, Mr. 813121. And I've been Jack. Let freedom screech.
Unfollow the Revolution was created and performed by David Gossett, Benjamin Mitchell, and David Nair. Produced by Rock Punch. Edited by Molly Rowland. Intro music by Alan Hanks. Voiceover by Jenny Wentling. We would like to thank our special guest this episode,
Courtney Overcash?
Keith Hooker?
If you want to keep raging against the manifest, support the American Civil Liberties Union at aclu.org, because the best way to destroy tyranny in the future is to fight it in the present.